UFO 50 is amazing. It's like this present box that you open and you think you're getting just one present, but then there's like a present inside a present inside a present inside a present. And I've been really enjoying my time, like, just jumping from game to game, see what I like, see what I maybe don't like, and then, locking in, getting a cherry, and then finding a new game to kind of concentrate on, and just repeating that same pattern over and over, and seeing the similarities, playing sequels. There's just so much good stuff in this. And so what I thought I would do is, since I'm 17 cherries deep currently, which is like 1/3 through the collection, I thought I'd just gonna sit down and share my journey so far with UFO 50 and say a little something about each game in the order that I played them, like roughly in the order, because I don't remember like the exact position of every game, but the general outline is there, because it's also like fun, like kind of the different ways that people approach this set, because some maybe kind of like to play through it like chronologically maybe, or you kind of look at the genres that you like and you play those games. And for me, it's been like this really random process. I've been like really bouncing around the games and then just kind of finding one that I find interesting and then just kind of going in for the cherry. And I'm only going to be talking about the games that I've cherried, because one really interesting thing that I've noticed about UFO 50 is that first looks are often deceiving, because what often happens to me is that I boot up a new game and I don't necessarily immediately like get it, or I don't see the appeal, I don't like it, but once I get deeper into it, I kind of start to understand it better, and especially with going for the cherry, kind of often reveals kind of a new layer about the game that makes it more interesting. So that's why I'm only going to talk about the games that I've cherried. I've spent some time on other games too, but I want to give them some benefits of the doubt for now. Even you, Paint Chase. So yeah, that's it for the intro, and let's get on with game number 1. So, since I am really into shoot 'em ups, I decided to start out with the shmups in the set. And if you follow my shmup channel, you might already have seen my videos on the 3 main shmups in the collection. And if that's the case, feel free to kind of jump forward using the chapter selection. But yeah, I started out with Star Waspir, which I think to some people, like non-shmup players, might be kind of, I don't know, disgusting, because it seems like a lot of people really hate the game, or at least like going for the cherry, because if you're not into shmups, the game is like pretty tough. But for me, it was really fun. Just going for the clear, not super interesting, because like the stage design, pattern design is pretty basic, the bosses not interesting. But once you get in the scoring, that's where the game really shines, because trying to both dodge the attacks and collect the right letters in the right order is kind of I don't know, at least for me, it requires a lot of concentration, and that's when I get into that kind of blissful zone out state of mind where I just not thinking about anything and I'm just like 100% in the game. And I'm not a super fan of how punishing or strict the game is about making mistakes, because if you die, if you pick up the wrong letter, your multiplier instantly goes back to 1, and that's goodbye to your score. So that kind of sucks, but since the game is only 10 minutes long and there is no downtime at all, it's not a huge deal. So Star Waspir gets a thumbs up from me. This saying can't quite be said about Caramel. It's not a bad game, but it's not a genre that I enjoy very much, because it's this kind of very old school, like slow, horizontal, methodical shooter, where it's not really that much about the dodging, it's much more about kind of the routing. And your ship is just so slow that just like, I don't know, the tempo of the game is just so glacial that it just doesn't quite appeal to me. But I did like I had an okay time like doing the cherry, and I really liked the camera mechanic, and especially the various kind of uses that it has, that you can combo enemies, you can drop turrets from the ceiling, you can uncover secrets. So I think that's a really cool aspect of the game. So yeah, nice game. Maybe not for me, but you know, I had an okay time. And then continuing with the shmup trifecta, we have Seaside Drive, which is kind of a, I don't know, maybe it's a little debatable whether it is shmup or not, but you know, it doesn't really matter. It's a really fun time. Like the vibes are just, you know, I'm just a sucker for Outrun, Outrun style atmosphere, the music, the visuals, just so cool. And I also enjoy the control scheme. Like at first it was kind of tough to get because I'm not a huge fan of when you need to kind of move and aim at the same time, and this is a topic that we'll come back to later in this video, but I found it pretty intuitive in Seaside Drive. I also like the bonus stages, the bosses, like really fun game. The only real downfall is that there really is no kind of depth in the game once you kind of once you know how to go through the stages without dying, like the first 3 stages, so that you can get to the bonus stages. And once you can do that and destroy most of the enemies in the stages, there isn't, like, you know, scoring wise, there isn't anything different to go for. Like, I think my best run was like, yeah, doing all the bonus stages, and I only died once towards the end of the game. And it's not really just about the score, it's about kind of the depth or the kind of variety. Like often in shmups and in other arcade style games, if you only do a survival run, it's very different from when you do a kind of scoring run. And in Seaside Drive there really isn't that huge of a distinction. So yeah, a really fun time, but I felt like once I was done with it, I really was done with it. Continuing on with arcade style games, we have Magic Garden, and I love Magic Garden. This is one of those games where the first impression can really be deceiving, because when you start getting into the game, you might think that it's all about saving the friendly smiles, and you need to collect a lot of them so that you can get a combo when you take them to the star zone. But that's not really what the game is about, at least when you get into the scoring and try to get the cherry, because what the game really is about is farming potions and eating a lot of enemy slimes in a quick succession. And that's where the game gets really interesting, because right off the bat there's a huge kind of risk-reward factor in like how many kind of enemy slimes you want to kind of leave on the screen, how many potions do you go for. Maybe you're going to collect a lot of friendly slimes and then turn them into enemy slimes so that you can get an even bigger score while getting that eating combo going, and with the multipliers that the potions give you. And that's just that makes the game super engaging for me. It's kind of similar to Star Waspir. If you're just trying to survive and do the thing that the game seemingly tells you to do, it's a little basic. But if you get into the scoring, it's every second counts, every moment counts, and that's just super fun to me. And I don't know, I also like the graphics, the music, the overall vibe is just lovely. This is just such a good time playing the game. And even though you die in just one hit and you need to reset again, the length of the game or one run makes it where you don't get where you don't really feel like rage quitting the game or anything. It's really easy to just start up a new game, and since there's the kind of randomness where the slimes appear, it keeps the game kind of keeps the game reasonably fresh. So Magic Garden, just a lovely experience. The same can't quite be said about another early UFO soft arcade style title, Ninpek. I got into this because it also has kind of some of that kind of shoot 'em up maybe energy or style, because it is an auto scroller, but it's a different kind where the screen scrolls automatically, but you're also kind of free to move around in this platforming fashion, and this is kind of a little bit of a mixed bag for me, because there's things I like about this game. I like, again, kind of the scoring depth, where there's always something to do. There's like lots of enemies, there's lots of things to keep track of. You need to collect the eggs and everything, and then there's the hidden sandwiches. So there's a lot to do in the game, and the game feel is okay for the most part. I really enjoy, like, if the game didn't have double jump, it could feel kind of, you know, a little like crusty, a little too old, but the addition of the double jump, you know, just gives you that mobility that helps elevate this really old school style of play into something that feels good even in these times. But I don't know, there's something a little, I don't know, there's just something about the game that only makes it kind of okay for me, and not just something that I really enjoy, just like, you know, Magic Garden or Seaside Drive or something. Maybe it's kind of, maybe the tempo of the game is a little slow for my liking, and when you're going for the cherry, which is like 2 loops of the game, you know, the game is reasonably long, so if you mess up kind of late in the game, you need to start, you know, over, it kind of feels a little bad sometimes. So yeah, it's kind of hard to place, like there's no like huge problems with Ninpek, but I guess it's just kind of a okay game for me, and that's okay too. Only playing arcade style action games can get a little tiring after a while, so next I decided to play something a little more chill, and I booted up Camouflage. Now, something that might be surprising about me, if you know, you've been watching my videos about shoot 'em ups, arcade games, like other action games, is that I used to be really into Sokoban style puzzle games, like block pushing puzzle games, and there was like a huge amount of really good indie puzzle games in this vein in like 2010s, like and I think the kind of the big like example of that kind of games is Steven's Sausage Roll, which is no joke one of the most impressive games that I have ever played in my life. And you know, because I used to play a lot of these type of games, and kind of the creators that did these games were like really good about it. It kind of sets a high bar for kind of a laid back, like small puzzle game like Camouflage. I have to again say that I really enjoyed the vibe of this game, and I think the main kind of gameplay feature is pretty cool, like changing the colors. And it's just, you know, there's just something really pleasant about this game. It's just nice to play Camouflage. It's not too demanding, it's pretty relaxing, but you need to like think about how you go around the screen and getting the side objectives for the cherry. But it is kind of I don't know, it's kind of hard to say, because on the one hand it was a really nice tie, but it was also kind of a slight game. Not something that I feel like returning to, and not something that I think about that much. So yeah, kind of hard to say. Like I do like it like more than Ninpek, but less than Magic Garden. But yeah, a really chill, pleasant time. Maybe not a super memorable game. And talking about not super memorable, next I did the Big Bell Race, because, you know, just reading, I was a little not burnt out, but kind of tired of like when I did attempts on like Ninpek and Magic Garden. It was kind of intense to get the cherry. I saw that people called the Big Bell Race like the easiest cherry in the game, and I was like, hey, let's just, you know, let's check this out. And this is a very slight game. Like I cherried this on my second attempt. Like on my first I got gold, and on the second I got cherry. I think it took 15 minutes or something. And it wasn't a bad time, it was okay, but this really is a game that I didn't feel like playing for more than 15 minutes. Of course, I think it's not meant as a kind of single player game, because, you know, I've only played these games in single player. This really, I think this would benefit from playing this with a friend, but even then, I don't know, like something like, let's say, Bushido Ball, like that I could see like being interesting with a friend, but I feel like Big Bell Race is too slight even for like multiplayer action. But to me, it's not really a kind of huge fault of the game. Like I think the game is more about the kind of internal lore of UFO soft and the kind of a small piece that kind of completes the sets instead of being something that you kind of really play and get into. And I think even in the description text, if you check it out in the menu, it says something like that this game was like made in 2 weeks or something. And it really feels like a game that, you know, a developer, like, you know, just got put out as quickly as possible to maybe, you know, just have something out. Maybe the UFO soft needed like cash badly, and then they were like, hey, we have this physics engine in Campanella. Maybe we just like, you know, do a couple of racetracks and do some basic AI, and this could be a racing game, and then we have a completely new game. So I think it's a cool inclusion in the sets as kind of this kind of part of this meta-narrative, but not really a game that leaves a lasting impression. Next we have something completely different, and that is Pilot Quest. Now, I think this is the game that I've spent the most time on and have some conflicted feelings on it, but I do think it's a very interesting game, maybe kind of a flawed one. So there's kind of many different aspects to this game. I really enjoyed kind of this idea of having, you know, you have this, you know, this home base where you do a little bit of like resource management, and then you gather enough resources so that you can go out in the so-called wilderness and explore and collect, again, more resources on a very strict timer. And then linking the timer to your health, I think, is a really cool thing. Like, so that really incentivizes you to kind of not to get hit, and also increases the kind of the feeling of actually being at risk and it feeling like an adventure. And I think that's a really cool thing that the game manages to channel from, because I think it's kind of pretty clear that the main inspiration for Pilot Quest is something like Zelda 1. And I think Zelda 1, the first Zelda, is kind of really interesting for how it really feels like you're thrown out into the world. And it's a dangerous place, it's a mysterious place. It's not a place that was created for you, the player, to feel like a hero in. Like, eventually, yes, but it really feels like this strange, dangerous place. And I think Pilot Quest is really good about this too, with the kind of the timer stuff. You're always feeling kind of on edge, and like pushing deeper always feels like a risk and a kind of an adventure, because, you know, that also means that you have less time to get back to your home base safely. So that's something that I really enjoyed about the game. And the kind of the base building, resource management aspect of the game, that was like okay. Even the idle aspect, I felt that was like a pretty minor part of the game, actually. Like having to go play other games so that you have enough like moon crystals to buy stuff so that you can go out in the wilderness. So you know, the idle stuff I don't really have a huge opinion on until like the game has a very strange difficulty curve, where at first it was super like I didn't know what I was doing at all. Everything felt strange. It was obtuse. Like my every run into the wilderness would end in disaster, and I wasn't making any progress. But, you know, bit by bit, once I found the dungeon entrances, I had some resources built up, and then once I kind of, you know, once it clicked, like I felt like the main part of the game, like finding the bosses, finding the ship parts, all of that stuff, it was over actually pretty quickly, because and then there was this hugely drawn out end game for like needing to idle to get enough resources to build up your base so that they can generate enough resources to buy like ship fuel and stuff. And I didn't feel like that added like really anything to the experience. And then the cherry condition, again, very conflicted, because to get the cherry you need to beat this special boss, I think 6 times in the wilderness during a single run. And the boss appears randomly, like the location that the boss appears in are random, so you need to walk like through the whole map looking for the boss. And I got to say that the run where I did the boss was super intense, but also it took like half an hour or something. So I don't know. It was kind of, again, it was drawn out. And the thing about, like I was talking about Zelda 1, is that, you know, the cool parts that they took from Zelda 1 is the feeling of exploration and actually having this wild with a world, or this world that is unfamiliar to you. But the bad thing that they took from Zelda 1 is the combat, or the feel of the combat, because I don't know, the hitboxes in this game don't feel good. The way that you attack just doesn't feel good, and the combat is a huge part of the game. It gets better once you get the blunderbuss, or whatever it's called, but still, it's never, I don't know, just the combat of the game. It's just should have been better, in my opinion. So this is a kind of a difficult game to give a kind of final rating on, because I think on one hand there's like a lot of like cool stuff about it, but then there's a lot of friction too, or maybe unnecessary friction, like with the combat feeling, the way that it feels, and the kind of drawn out end game. I don't know. So I think this was a very memorable game to me, and, you know, spending that time on it felt like time well spent. But yeah, I don't know. I think like this game could benefit from a remake or something. So it's a shame we didn't get Pilot Quest 2. So getting into Pilot Quest and figuring out the idle mechanics, I was like, okay, I need to play other games during the time that I play Pilot Quest as well. And I thought, hey, I'll play something like something simpler than Pilot Quest, and I ended up choosing Hyper Contender. And this is kind of again, a tough one, because I really think that this game would shine in multiplayer, and I didn't get the chance to play this in multiplayer because I think the concept of the game is pretty cool, because it's like a fighting game in a kind of a 2D action platformer style, like Super Smash Bros. Or something. But with the twist being that most of the characters don't have a standard jump or a standard kind of attack where, you know, you just kind of shoot in front of you or something. Like all of the movements is just very strange. And while I admire the ideas that are in this game, I just didn't enjoy playing with almost any of the characters. Like, I had moments where I had like, you know, I managed to pull off something cool, but it was kind of, I felt like I was battling against the game instead of battling against the opponents in this game, against like the controls and the game feel. And I think that is something that wouldn't actually be a problem unless the AI wasn't clearly like better at the game. Like, the AI is not struggling with the controls. It can do like these dodges, or are they dodges or blocks or something, like, and, you know, do these like really crazy weird movements, and I just couldn't do it, and I didn't enjoy the game enough to really learn it. And I think in multiplayer, if you were playing with another human, since you were both struggling with the controls, it would be a much more kind of even battlefield, and it wouldn't feel like that kind of grappling with the controls, because you're both trying to do that, and then, like, you know, switching characters to see like which one you could use against the other. I would think, imagine it could be pretty fun, but as a single player game, I don't know, didn't enjoy Hyper Contender that much. And again, another kind of this quick game that I played during Pilot Quest is Quibble Race. It's just, I don't know, it's just so funny to me how different the games are in the collection, and it's kind of, I don't know, it feels funny to me to talk about like these sudden shifts, like I'm going from like Pilot Quest, Hyper Contender, Quibble Race. But anyway, Quibble Race, what can you say about Quibble Race? This is like gambling. It's just gambling. Like, I think there's some strategies that you can do. It was kind of fun to like figure out, like, you know, there's no point maybe kind of betting on the best Quibble because the returns that you get aren't so high, so you might want to select the second best Quibble and then maybe poison the best Quibble or something. And the way that the races are presented is actually I felt was pretty fun, like where maybe you're betting on a Quibble that's usually reliable or something, and the Quibble stumbles over a stone, and then just something else happens. It's just kind of, I don't know, I think this, I wouldn't necessarily say that this game is super fun, but it is funny. And again, maybe in multiplayer, this could be more kind of enjoyable. The cherry condition was actually very strange because I kind of got, I didn't play this game for too long, maybe an hour and a half or something, maybe 2 hours, well, no more than 2 hours. I kind of got obsessed for a while with the cherry because I was like, this game seems to be completely, almost completely luck-based. How are you supposed to get the cherry? What's the deal with the game? What am I missing? And I was doing these runs over and over and maybe trying to come up with some strategies, I would sponsor my Quibbles and go for maybe the pills instead of the poison, and nothing seemed to work. It seemed like it all ended up it was all up to luck in the end. And then I was I got frustrated, and I decided to just check out a cherry runs on YouTube, and I think I watched a world record speed run of the game or something, and it was very surprising what they did in those YouTube videos. And when I tried out the tactic that I saw, I got the cherry on my first try, and that was kind of deflating. It was kind of, I don't know, I guess it is in the spirit of the game, which is to say that the game is unfair and luck-based and kind of, it's not really a game in a sense. But yeah, it kind of soured me a little bit on the experience, which I wasn't Quibble Race is just Quibble Race. It's there for fun to kind of maybe surprise you. But yeah, not one of my favorites in these sets. Oops, did I talk about favorites in the sets? Well, we're in luck because the next game on the list is Barbuta. And this game is so good. I love how they put it in the number 1 slot in UFO 50 because, if you're a new, unassuming player, which disc would you dust off? The first one, obviously. And then you start off Barbuta and there's no title screen, no music. Then you take a step to the right, you die. You try jumping, and the jump seems to be intentionally the worst video game jump imaginable. And then you just what is this? And then you exit the game and go play something else. That must be the intention that they had. But it's so funny because once you get into the game, it's actually amazing. And I had heard about Barbuta being secretly this really cool game. So once I got UFO 50, I started up Barbuta. I kind of got a feel for the controls, and I was I'm sure there's more to the game than seems, but I'm going to return to it later. I want to play something that is more kind of immediately captivating. And so yeah, having cherried 10 or so games, I went back to Barbuta, and this game is just it's hard to explain the appeal if you haven't played this. I know it looks awful, but the game design in this game is so deliberate, so intentional, and so in your face. It's almost it felt playing this game felt like I was playing it with the game designer sitting beside me, or having a conversation with the designer of the game, because every little thing that seems random or stupid at first, and then you realize, hey, this is part of this puzzle, or this is part of the way that I move, or I can do this thing here. And even the kind of the jumping and the combat in the game, with how slow and sluggish and clunky it is, but the enemies and the stage design, it's all kind of designed around your movement system. So it's not it has bad movement and random design. No, the movement is very restricted, but everything is designed around those restrictions. And then the exploration, like in this game, just feels so good, because at first it's like, at least I got stuck pretty quickly, and then but once the game started to open up, and how the things like connected, and also the fact that you have to start all over every time, I think it's a really cool thing, because you start to create these routes for yourself. And, you know, of course, like integral part of the game is drawing your own map, which I did, and was super fun. And it was also kind of the way that you clear the game was very interesting, because once I had done enough exploration to kind of know what I need to do to beat the game, like doing the actual winning run didn't take much time at all, which I thought was cool, because it's like in this game, you don't really gather. It's not like the equipment or the map or anything that you kind of gather. You don't like level up. You level up your knowledge of the game, and once you have the knowledge, you can beat the game easily, which I think is super cool. The only thing that I don't really like about this game, or that's two things. Like the first one is, I think the cherry condition is kind of, it's not in the spirit of the game, or like the spirit of the, maybe it's the spirit, kind of the heart or the point of the game is the exploration, and then the cherry condition is a survival condition, like beating the game with 6 lives, and that's just not that interesting, and it's not even that difficult, or there just isn't that much to the kind of cherry condition in the game, while the exploration is kind of the real thing about this game. And you know, when I cleared the game, I had like mysteries unresolved, and there were paths that I hadn't explored, and suddenly I didn't have like an in-game incentive to go like check out those routes. And I think the cherry condition would have been nicer if the cherry condition would have been about like finding like all the treasures, or kind of something that forced you to explore all the main paths of the game. And that ties in with my second kind of complaint with the game, is that I think the movements and the tempo of the game, the speed of the game is perfectly fine for the most part. But once you get to the kind of end game, where you maybe like need to traverse to a certain spot to maybe kind of test something, you might have an idea, like maybe I could like get to this place for this, following this route, and when it doesn't work out, it feels like, you know, wasted sometimes, and you need to walk back. And then the kind of, once you understand the game and the map, then the, I don't know, the movement speed and all, it starts to drag a little bit. So but those are really like minor complaints, because the actual experience of exploring the game and finding the end and cherrying it was very satisfying. So a definitive highlight in the collection for me. Recording this video is taking so long that I started to get really cold sitting here by the window, the only place in this godforsaken apartment that has enough light to make the video quality tolerable. English language is horrible. Anyway, pushing on to some games that are definitely not on the level of Barbuta. And the first one is Campanella 3. Now, this is one of those games, kind of like Caramel, where it's less about kind of the quality of the game and more about the genre that it represents, because I have never liked these kind of pseudo 3D rail shooters where you're kind of shooting into the screen and also kind of aiming and moving at the same time. Again, going back to that point in Seaside Drive, but again, because Seaside Drive is 2D, and then the kind of the felt like the aiming was pretty easy in that game. Whereas in Campanella 3, it's kind of, I don't know, the perspective, like, are the enemies, like, how close are they to you, and the way that you position yourself on the screen, it just doesn't work for me. The game feel I just never feel comfortable playing this game, and often when I die, it feels like it's not just about my skill, and it's about kind of the readability of the game, or we could, you could say it's about my skill of reading the game, but that's just not a super interesting challenge to me. I want it to be a test of my skill at playing, kind of a moving. So to me, kind of the genre and the perspective and everything, it's kind of an obstacle to me, kind of to enjoying the game. So it's just not a genre that I've ever felt like comfortable with. So I felt the game itself was okay. Like the enemy patterns were cool, the bosses were cool, the final boss was really cool, and then the overall vibe, like kind of it's really cool to kind of see this kind of late era UFO soft game where it really reminds me of like late NES games where they try to do things that the NES like shouldn't be able to do. So I think it's a really cool addition to the set. Like with something like Big Bell Race, it's kind of part of the kind of historical story of UFO soft and the technological kind of advancements and stuff, but just kind of as a gaming experience, not quite my thing. It was okay, but it's not a game that I feel like returning to. And the same could be said about Elfazar's hats. Now, I think this might be a kind of a controversial take on the game, because it feels like this is a kind of a well-loved game in UFO 50, and it's easy to see why, because, again, the overall aesthetic and the vibe of the game is just so lovely. It gives me kind of the same kind of this fuzzy warmth that's, is present in Magic Garden. And at first it seems like cool, like the card system, like you collect those different power-ups and, that have different effects and stuff. But I don't know. Again, this is a thing that I can keep returning to, and I think it seems to be kind of a big factor for me whether I enjoy a game or not. But to me, the game feel, again, just isn't there, and it's kind of like it's almost like a spiritual successor to Pilot Quest, because the hitboxes are just way too big in this game for me, and it's the kind of the positioning of your character in relation to the bullets and the enemies, I feel is sometimes kind of misleading. Like, I don't know, it's just kind of, I feel like this is a game where you want to kind of get into the heat of the action, dodge bullets and reposition yourself here and then shoot these guys and then run over here. But I felt like playing it that way always led to me dying in these kind of like ways that just didn't feel good. Like, obviously it is a skill issue, this is a game that can be learned, but I felt like instinctively, like the way that I felt like the game should work just didn't kind of, it just, I don't know, it just didn't come together. And I think that the hitboxes are a big part of the problem for me. It's just that the dodging just wasn't, the feel of the dodging just wasn't there. So the kind of the most reliable strategy that I found was to kind of take it like slow and really like turtle and like not rush, because I felt like the game is pretty long for a single run, and if you make a mistake, you kind of lose your power-ups, and that can end up in a death spiral. And no, just going for the cherry, which is beating the game without continues. I don't know. It's just, this game just didn't feel good to play for me, and that's kind of a shame, because again, I like the visuals and the world of the game is so appealing, but I just don't like interacting with the game. And also I felt like the card system was underwhelming, because at first it seems cool, like what do these combinations do, but pretty quickly I found out that there's like, you always want to get the moon ones for the spread shots and getting an extra hit point. There were obviously like or maybe not, or maybe there's something I'm missing, maybe there's like strats that you can do, but for me it felt like there's like certain power-ups that you just want to get, and then the power-up system just, it wasn't as interesting as it seemed at first. So Elfazar's hat, I don't know, it just doesn't do it for me, so sorry Elfazar fans. Luckily, next we have something really special to lift our spirits, and that is Mooncat. This is a really cool game. Like, first of all, the atmosphere is amazing. Like the music, the kind of the little kind of piece of art that you get when you start the game, like the character arts, like everything about this game is off in a really cool way. So the vibe is impeccable. And also I think like the main gameplay feature is really strong, which is like having this really strange control scheme. So it looks like a basic platformer, but the way that you play it is it just feels kind of even a simple jump seems dangerous and weird to do, and getting into those more advanced technical like movement tech, it feels like really cool once you get the hang of it. And I think the coolest thing about this game is that this is not a original observation. This was like some Reddit comment that I saw or something, is that the way that this person described it is that Mooncat is like playing something like Super Mario for the first time, where you haven't played platformers, you don't know how to play them, like even basic jumps feel exciting and you don't know what awaits you in the world. Like, is the game going to be short, is it going to be long, or like what's going to happen? And when you see a new creature, you don't know anything about it. It kind of recaptures the magic of getting into like platformers for the first time, and I agree, and I think that's a really good description of kind of the strength of Mooncat. So a very interesting and successful game, I would say, because there are some games, there is one particular game which is coming in this video later, which I think is very interesting while not being kind of very good game to play. But Mooncat, it's kind of the best of both worlds. It kind of has this experimental thing, but it also pulls it off with like solid gameplay and everything. I especially enjoyed like the boss fights, which felt like so strange to do with this control scheme, but like so satisfying. And then realizing like the secrets that are in the world, even though like I did find some warps by myself, but this is one of the games where I ended up in the end that I ended up looking how to get to the kind of hidden routes to get the cherry, because there was something about it's not a kind of flaw of the game. I feel it's more about like me as a player. I really enjoy like hunting for secrets and exploration when that is the main focus, like something in Barbuta. And I also like learning like to play a kind of skill-based action game, but combining those two doesn't always feel great, because just kind of getting through Mooncat feels difficult, and when you combine that with having to kind of scour for secrets and repeating sections, something about that just didn't feel good to me. But then I looked up the warps to get to the extra bosses, and that just kind of concentrated on just kind of more on the skill based aspect of the game, while doing a little bit of exploration by myself too, like finding a couple of warps, and that worked for me. That might be blasphemy for some others, but that's the way that I ended up engaging with the game, and I still felt like I had a real nice experience. We have 3 games left to go, and I hope that you have enough coffee if you're feeling tired at this point in the video. And if you don't have any coffee, you will find it in Campanella 1, and you will find a lot of it. You will be forced to find that coffee if you want to get that cherry. Anyway, Campanella 1, very interesting game too. And for me, there's some similarities to Mooncat actually, because the basic, I really enjoyed like the basic movements again, with kind of the frost or the physics-based movement system, and the level design in this game was pretty good. And I also enjoyed those secrets, like finding those coffees, and I felt like it was really cool with how they kind of played around with your kind of this game sense or kind of game knowledge, where if you played enough games, you might start to notice like when things are a little bit off, or like why is there like this little nook or this little cranny over here without any reason to go there, and then when you go there you unlock a coffee, which I felt was really cool. What I didn't really enjoy about the game is, again, that interplay between very precise kind of action gameplay and a little kind of trial and error style exploration. Like some of the coffees you can find like are pretty obvious, but some of them kind of really require you to scour the map. And that becomes a problem when, you know, you need to play really well during the kind of early game to get enough like extra lives, which you get by collecting points, which is actually something that I really like about this game. Like, it really incentivizes you to learn the game and destroy enemies, collect stuff, because you need those power-ups to survive the late game. But it felt kind of bad, like, you know, playing perfectly for like something like 20 stages and then having to burn through my lives to hunt for the coffees in the end game and then having to go back to the beginning. I don't know, that just didn't feel like that good. So if I had like infinite lives, then it would be more fun to explore for the coffees in the later levels. So what I ended up doing, I'm a cheater. So I found I think I found most of the coffees in like the first half of the game, and that was really fun. But, you know, getting a nice run into the end game, that started to feel kind of tedious when, you know, you're repeating it. So I looked up the coffees for the second half of the game, and then it just became this game of skill and also planning a route. Like, I knew like there's a coffee here, and like, should I go over here first? What should I do? And just like with Mooncat, I ended up really enjoying the game in this fashion. So again, some people might consider this like spoiling the game for yourself or something, but I don't know, if this game had save states and I could like experiment to my heart's content and just kind of go over it without needing to do the early levels over and over, I think this would have been more enjoyable to me. Like, I really enjoyed this game, like looking up the coffees during the second half, so I didn't feel like it harmed my experience. Obviously, this was a very different experience from finding all the coffees yourself, but still, this is a game that I enjoyed. Really nice title. Maybe overstays its welcome a little bit. Maybe it could have been better, a little shorter, or there's kind of some tension in that kind of satisfying action gameplay and the exploration aspect, but a really nice title overall. Moving on to the penultimate game, we have Rakshasa. And when I think about Rakshasa, I think about Tetris. Specifically, the difference between something like NES Tetris and Tetris the Grandmaster. Because if you think about NES Tetris, really like the huge part of the challenge in that game is mastering the controls and the way that the game really doesn't want you to play past a certain point. And, you know, the pieces lock in instantly, so you can't really make any mistakes when you position the pieces. You have to be ready for RNG. The controls, like if you need to move a Tetris piece to the other part of the screen at high speed, there's kind of certain techniques that you need to know. It's almost a game about mastering kind of the interface of the game, or the way that you interact with the game. Whereas something like Tetris Grandmaster, it gives you all the tools. Like the Tetris pieces, you can move them around wherever you want to. Like you have a small window where you can, you know, reposition your Tetronimo and, you know, all of these things. But then the game also expects you to play at a like very high level. So when you have these tools, when you have these movement options, then you can play at the 20G speed, or the instant gravity speed. So there are people who prefer NES style, the people who prefer Tetris the Grandmaster style. And Rakshasa is NES Tetris all the way. And I don't think I'm a fan of this kind of gameplay. Like making your, like this game, again, something like Barbuta, it's very intentional about design. Like the level design and the way that your character controls, it's all kind of really considered. Like really, there's kind of there's intention to every part of the game. But to me, it became kind of a, I don't know, it's again something like kind of distinction between challenging and punishing or strict gameplay, where once I kind of got the hang of Rakshasa, I could get pretty far into it, but it would require like really precise, really concentrated effort. Like I would need to play every part perfectly, and once I get into the end game, maybe I made like a slight misadjustment, slight mismovement, and suddenly I died, and then I lose my weapon of choice. I'll go back to the crappy default weapon, and that leads me to dying again because I'm at like a, I don't know, I'm fighting like the birds or something, and then the run is over. And it seems like, you can master this game, and it did feel satisfying once I got the cherry at the end, which also requires you to find like more treasures and rack up points, which is kind of cool. But to me, this felt more like a test of endurance and a test of not making any mistakes. And to me, that's just not interesting, at least anymore. So for me, this is a kind of a remnant of maybe like the kind of old school design or NES design, where I like a lot of older games, I like a lot of arcade games. But yeah, this kind of style, I don't know, it just doesn't appeal to me anymore. I actually I did a video on DuckTales, and I felt like, hey, maybe I should go back and play some other NES games, and I went and played some Akumajo Densetsu, the Japanese version of Castlevania 3, which is like has been one of my favorite NES/Famicom games. And the controls, again, so deliberate, but just the game feel just wasn't for me there. It would be like, again, I would play like perfectly for half an hour, and I would slightly mistime my movements, and then I would run into a bird and get knocked into a pit or something, and then I lose all my powers, and then it becomes a different kind of game, and suddenly I'm just kind of spiraling. And I don't know, it's just kind of, I prefer games where, like something like, if we're talking about UFO 50, like Star Waspir, again, also very strict, very punishing about losing the score multiplier, but because it has that like lightning fast movement, I feel like the game kind of gives me the tools, or like it's all up to me, and I can do like these crazy movements, crazy dodges. And in Rakshasa, you have to be kind of, you can't make any extraneous like jumps, for example. Like in platform games, usually your instinct, at least for me, is like when I'm moving, I'm just jumping because jumping feels fun. And in this game, you can't do anything just for fun because, you might do kind of you might feel like, hey, I'll just jump here, and suddenly an enemy appears from somewhere from the edge of the screen, and then you run into the enemy, and it just kind of sucks. So this game, I admired the design, and it felt cool mastering it, but it also felt very frustrating to me, like doing runs where I felt like if I can play through 99% of the game really well, I kind of should be able to get the clear. And in Rakshasa, you have to go like 100%. Well, maybe not 100, but the mistakes lead to runs spiraling into a game over, and that didn't feel that good to me. So Rakshasa, I don't know, good in theory, I kind of admire it, but this one kind of gave me more frustration than I liked. And so, my friends, we have come to the last game and the last cherry of this video. And you can say what you want to say about me, about the topics of my videos, the quality of my videos, the lack of editing, about my hair, about anything. But one thing that you can't say about me is that I don't save the best for the last, because the last game that we have is Combatants. And this, I feel, is a very misunderstood game. I won't say that it's a game for everybody, but I don't think it's a kind of the way that people talk about this game doesn't, to me, really capture what it's about. Like, people call this, like, at first I thought this was an RTS game, like real-time strategy game, because that's what I kind of saw in like discussions and videos online. And I was like, RTS, I don't want to play this. And I also saw that, you know, this is by far like the most disliked game in the collection. But that's actually what got me curious about this. I was like how bad is it going to be? Like, I want to play Combatants, and I want to empty that chalice to have an opinion about Combatants. And, you know, the first thing about Combatants is it's not an RTS game, almost in the slightest. It is a very slow-paced action game, like played out in kind of on an RTS map or something, because there's almost like no strategy in this game. There's like one strategy that you use for the entire game, and yeah, it's a lot about kind of the going out there and destroying, being proactive with your little commander ants in winning the scenarios instead of devising like these stratagems or anything. So it's not an RTS game, it's more of a kind of slow-paced action game. But it's not really a slow-paced action game either. To me, this is an art game taking the form of a slow-paced action game masquerading as an RTS game. And what I mean by art game is that it's not a game that's supposed to be kind of fun or entertaining in the traditional sense. It's more about using the medium of video games to say something, express something, an idea or a theme. And with Combatants, I think like I haven't really delved super deep into the meta-narrative of UFO 50 and UFO Soft, and I believe there's lots of secrets hidden in the game about this. I felt like I want to like first like actually play the games more, and then like get into the narrative stuff and maybe kind of the secrety, spoilery stuff. So I'm not super sure how the kind of the Combatants kind of fits into all of this, but the impression that I get is that it's a game kind of it's a kind of game that takes a stance. It's a hill to die on about kind of game development itself and the pressures, and like what happens when a kind of a person who has a lot of money maybe acquires a game studio and then decides what direction the studio is going to take, what kind of games they're going to make, and maybe kind of not listen to your employees and the people who actually create these games. Maybe you don't even understand what makes games good, or but you kind of you force your idea on the developers. So the developers are kind of like your ants working on your I don't know, anthill, I guess, or something, your big project. They are your obedient, expendable workers. But those workers, they might also express themselves in ways that are not obvious by maybe kind of tinkering with themes and even gameplay mechanics, and making a game making a game feel kind of bad or tedious or sluggish to reflect the conditions that they work in. And I think that is what Combatants is about. Like the experience of playing Combatants, the kind of really again, super slow paced and unsatisfying, and kind of cheesing your way through the game and like leaning into the jank. I think it's kind of that is the kind of narrative and the point of Combatants. And also kind of this game has the most haunting ending screen of the ones that I've seen UFO 50, and it's kind of the most haunting moments in UFO 50 by far, with the grasshopper and the little red ants watching at you from the sidelines. It really feels so ominous, and I feel like the grasshopper is kind of an interesting symbol in UFO 50 in general. So there's this aspect, and also I think like combatants is also kind of representation of developers trying to do something which hasn't like been done before, and they don't really quite know how to do it yet. Like if you go and play some early like strategy games of the 80s or early 90s, they're really hard to get into because the interfaces isn't there. There's like things that haven't been figured out, like there's like missing quality of life features, and the AI isn't there, and all of these things. And I think combatants is kind of this, again, it's more for the flavor, kind of like the Big Bell Race was this kind of side project that they pushed out to make some money, and I think combatants is included in the UFO 50 to kind of give you the flavor of kind of a genre that isn't possible yet maybe, and also the developers kind of overreaching themselves while also rebelling against the kind of head of the studio who has overtaken the kind of creative force and forced his own idea on the developers. So that to me is what combatants is about, and that makes it maybe the most interesting game in the set. I won't say best, but it's kind of the one that I thought about the most after finishing it, and the one that I'm kind of most interested in to kind of, you know, hear maybe some discussion or analysis. And, you know, the actual gameplay experience of the game, it wasn't that bad to me. Like, it wasn't good, but for example, Rakshasa, which is the kind of better game of the two, I felt like I had a lot more negative like emotions during Rakshasa, the frustration and the kind of the rage quitting and stuff, and feeling like the game was kind of pranking me or like being unfair with me. While combatants, once I kind of understood the basic idea and I really kind of, as I said, like leaned into the jank, it was kind of fun to play through, and it only took like maybe, I don't know, maybe like 3 hours or something. And some of the levels get actually pretty intense. I really got into it, even with the kind of slow pace and everything. And I like the graphics, I like the music, I like the atmosphere. So combatants, it's not really that bad. I don't know. I think people are wrong about this one. Again, I'm going to say this is not a game for everyone. You have to have an appreciation for kind of a, maybe not appreciation, but you need to be interested in the ways that games can tell stories, not only through the kind of explicit narrative, but the way that they kind of, through like gameplay and through like these little things, like even maybe kind of this jankiness. I think the jankiness is part of the narrative in combatants, and that's really interesting to me. And, you know, if the game was like harder or was substantially longer, I think it wouldn't work, because then it would kind of, it would really get tedious. But for the length of the game, I felt it was perfectly fine. So yeah, combatants, underrated. So that has been my experience with UFO 50 so far. And even if I got a little negative on some titles, I must say that even the games that I didn't enjoy that much, it wasn't like I had like a super bad time with them or anything. Because for one, most of the games are pretty short, both to clear and often even to cherry. So even if you don't like a game that much, it's not like you're spending like, days upon days on them. And also it's always fun to see kind of the reoccurring like symbols, like figuring out how each game will feature an egg in some way, like checking out like, the sequels and everything. And, like kind of seeing what part they play in the kind of UFO Soft's oeuvre, the kind of the total output of the studio, and kind of seeing this narrative emerge, this meta narrative emerge. So, and even with a game like Big Bell Race, I've like mentioned it a couple of times, like it's a kind of nothing game, but it serves a place in the story of UFO Soft, and that makes it kind of interesting. in that way. And at first I thought that I'd close out this video with kind of a ranking of these games, because you know, that seems to be the thing that everyone does with UFO 50, and I want to be like everybody else. I want to be normal, but I feel like, you know, the internet would like murder me if they like saw my ranking list with like combatants in the middle and like Elfazar's hats in like the bottom top 3 and like, I don't know, Barbuta at number 1, because yes, Barbuta is my favorite game in the sets. I guess. It's so difficult. Yeah, also I don't want to, it's so hard to rank the games because they are so different. Again, some of the games, they're so fun to play, and then some of them are just like super interesting, and it's, how do you rank this? And I don't want to rank this. UFO 50 is this kind of a piece of art where all the pieces are required for the whole to work. If you just take the games out of it and play them as like these separate standalone games, I don't think they have the same impact at all. It's really about, for me, the total experience, and that just makes UFO 50 super special, and I'm really excited to delve deeper into it and, I don't know, I guess play strategy games or something. But yeah, if you watched this whole video, thanks so much, and please, if you have any comments about my opinions on the games, or something that you want to share about your UFO experience, your favorites, your least favorites, anything, please please leave a comment, because that's what I'm doing these videos because this is my way of interacting with other people who like playing video games and these niche nerdy games, because, you know, I have friends who play video games. They don't necessarily play the same games that I do, so this is my way of like getting to share my experience and also like hearing reactions from others. So the views don't matter, the likes don't matter, the subs don't matter. What matters is hearing from all of you. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye.